MITHRILHAWKS are a secret organization of adventurers and agents whose principal aim is to prevent an alien invasion by the race of beings known as the Cthulhs, a humanoid cephalopod race of psionic squid-like conquerors who enslave worlds. The MITHRILHAWKS were formed by Xavier Waverider to prevent this ongoing threat and help keep the civilizations of Earthall in balance through the 5 ages. Our intrepid adventurers are Sundew Thunderglade, a third-aged Fey-elf druid sent forward in time to the 4th age of Earthall to determine the best place for his tribe to store the Two-Eye Stone, a relic of unimaginable power, used to destroy one of the moons in the apocalyptic battle between dragons and giants at the end of the 2nd Age. He is horned, green-skinned with bioluminescent markings, and can transform into a giant teleporting tiger-like being of immense strength and agility. Played by Kurt. Lachlan Windshear, a half-elf rogue artificer wizard mercenary from the 4th Age of Earthall, who was orphaned and taken in and trained by the MITHRILHAWKS. He relishes in unique magic items, creating them and running a small mercenary band that supports the MITHRILHAWKS intelligence network. He serves as the guide to this unlikely and very secretive trio, played by Redfoot. And John Loyal Chambers, a Special Forces operative from the very human 5th Age of Earthall, who operates in a special access program called the Jumpgate Project, run by General Hawk. He was sent back in time to the 4th Age to determine the whereabouts of the Two-Eye Stone and report back so the Jumpgate Project could locate it and use it to defeat the invading cephalopods of the Cthulhu race. He has a religious experience during this time travel jump and becomes a paladin for Columbia Mithrael, the female elven deity of justice and healing, played by Tennant. Each of our adventurers are guided by their age's version of Xavier Waverider, and each have their own mission. Will they work together to accomplish their specific missions, or will they face something even more daunting and challenging, discovering untold secrets that they had never suspected and challenging them to their very cores? Find out in the MITHRILHAWKS Search for the Two-Eye Stone. In this episode, our intrepid adventurers find themselves aboard the Waverider, the flying ship of the MITHRILHAWKS, where they get clues to their adventure, their mysteries, the search for the Two-Eye Stone, and the riddles of time itself. Welcome back, true believers and adventurers. We are back with the MITHRILHAWKS Search for the Two-Eye Stone. In this adventure, our intrepid adventurers have just battled Zavifa, who is Sundew's contemporary back in the 3rd Age, who was going to be chosen, or was potentially going to be chosen for the mission that he is currently on. And since he got it, something happened to her in that time period, and she managed to live for the 3,000 years it took for him to show up again at the Shinto's castle in Guanshu. As soon as Sundew showed up, 3 of the maidens and the queen herself transformed back into Oni, who had evidently been there for months and had been disguised, waiting particularly for Sundew's reappearance, with orders to attack on sight. And that's what they did. And when they found out that it was Oni and not the queen, once they were victorious and saved the Two-Eye Stone from sure destruction, our hero Loyal saved the stone from cracking and was infused with the power of the Two-Eye Stone when it created an electrical field outside the containment unit that was set up in the Shinto's castle. Both Sundew and Lachlan assisted him and were thus infected with the nanobots from the Two-Eye Stone. And then they went to go save the queen and found evidence on the Oni's dead body that would lead them to where the queen was being held. They went there, fought a big purple sandworm en route, and made quick work of the Oni that were guarding the temple there where Zavifa was. And then they freed the queen, and they left the castle, or they left the cave, headed back to the castle, presumably.
And when they found Zavifa alive and looking nigh over 200 years old, um, she attacked them immediately. And during the course of the battle, they nearly had her. Sundu nearly died twice. And at the very last moment, when they had to fight the Oni and Zavifa, a gate opened, and we could see Cthulhu's in the background in a very strange landscape. And and just at that moment, Tristan Waverider and Elriel showed up. And if you look at the screen, that's Elriel, a sky mithril elf from the Fourth Age, and Tristan Waverider, Xavier Waverider's son, a half sea elf who is of royal descent. And so again, here we have Sundu, Loyal, and Lachlan. And if you remember last, guys, we were on the you had just defeated Zavifa. Lachlan, you took the portable hole and gathered everything that was on her desk and table. And if you look down here at the bottom left on the screen, you will see the Waverider. And you'll see your tokens set up there. I took the main sails off so that we could see the deck smoothly. You guys got that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So you guys take the Waverider. You guys they pull you up onto the Waverider through that hole that was in the Oni part of the cave there, the temple, and they bring you up here. They have these devices called Xavier's Waverider, which are, if you remember, Tristan rode in on one, which is essentially like a flying surfboard that's translucent, like your heads-up display hollow shield, right? He surfed in on one, and Lachlan has actually heard of these. You are familiar with these. You've never gotten to use one before, but he tosses you a ring, and the Elriel, he pulls Loyal up, and Sundu, actually. He holds both of you, and you know, from the back of, you know, like here, and takes you up there. And Lachlan, Tristan gives you a Waverider ring and says, "Come on, mate, learn on the go."
Can I keep this? And I turn it on.
He's like, "We'll see, but you'll have it on the ship as long as we're in the air, and your buddies, your mates will too." So you guys fly up to the ship, and if you look, I'm going to zoom in as much as you need. For the viewers here, I'm going to zoom in nice and close so that everybody can see everybody's names. There are a lot of people working on the ship, you know, a lot of mates, and they're all very, very unique characters. And rather than go through all of them at this time, I'm just going to introduce you to the three main ones who are going to be the ones that you're interacting with on this trip for the most part. Okay. Can you hear the music, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
So when you get up on the deck, you see that Quensho the monk and Shintoji and the queen, along with the general and one remaining guard, are up on the deck up in the front here. Shintoji is chatting with his wife, and just trying to figure out what happened. You know, when did she get taken, that kind of thing. Quensho is here. Fulan, the general, looks over at you, Loyal, and he nods, and you can tell he's happy to see you alive. And you guys land on the center deck here. Behind you coming down is the captain, and he looks like he looks a little bit like Harrison Ford in Ender's Game, if you remember. He's got short buzzed hair, it's graying on the sides, he's a little bit older. He's wearing like a leather trench coat and kind of like pirates wear underneath, like really nice trousers and a poofy white shirt. And you can see that he has a firearm on his belt, but it's like an old school blunderbuss, right? And he's got a cane that he walks with, like a walking cane, and a saber on his belt. Next to him is a human who's blonde haired, and he also wears a trench coat, but it's leather and it's dyed blue, and it looks like the sky. It has like clouds painted and stitched into it. It's really cool. And he's wearing tan pants and a white shirt and a light blue vest. And his trench coat, also, he has a cape on the back of it. right? And you don't see any weaponry on him. And to the left of the captain, you're right. You see a little gnome who looks exactly like Q, if you remember from headquarters, where he's working on Loyal's weaponry and Lachlan worked on your staff. He looks like that, but he's wearing goggles, like on the top of his head, and his hair is like all frizzled out like that, right? And he's not wearing any clothes. He's wearing like a loincloth, like a white loincloth, and he's got grease on his hands or whatever. And across his back, strapped across his back, is like this long metal tube that has a lot of carvings in it and like metal rivets that go around it and kind of like hold it together. And it's just a long metal tube. It's got no arrows in it or anything like that. And so Tristan lands right in front of you, and Elriel is there, and he's like, "Well, it's good to see you guys alive. How'd you find yourselves over there?" He's like, "Never mind. I know the story. So here's what happened, right? One of you, we sort of changed the times and timelines, and so we're on a new trajectory. I'll explain all of that later, but understand this. In the original version of how that all played out, only one of you survived. And you managed, and I'm not going to tell you who, and he winks at you, Lachlan, like really obviously. And he's like, I'm not going to tell you who, but you came and let us know what happened, and, well, things are just too important for that to happen. So we had to come here and rescue you guys. So, that being the case, things are different now, and we have to go and tie up a couple loose ends. Is that all right with you?
So you're saying we traveled in time to let you know that we had traveled in time, and that some of us had died, and now you've come back to fix that time so that we can move forward in a new time.
Yeah, basically. What had happened was that you guys initially had done this, and he's like, it gets a little confusing, right? But basically, we need you three alive for a lot of reasons that you'll find out later. And
We like life.
what's that?
We like life.
And
Oh, yeah.
we like you being alive, for sure. So this is how it played out. You came crawling back to the MITHRILHAWK school, somehow managing to survive the Oni attack. You had managed to kill Zavifa, but something terrible had happened, and she didn't die. And then, and so yeah, you guys were really in for a doozy. And then, so you managed to come back and tell us, and then we had to send ourselves back in time to make sure that didn't happen. And it looks like we came in at just the right time. In your story, the gate didn't open, so somehow the Cthulhus who were watching her through, because you know she was basically like infected, right? Like
Yeah, infected with what, Tristan? Do we know?
Yeah. So Lachlan, and we've got to have some words here. We're going to head back to the Shinto's castle first, right?
Okay.
And we've got to take care of some business because evidently you've become like the new Rothschild. And he looks at Loyal and he like corrects himself. And Loyal, you know who that is, right? Because you come from the Fifth
Right.
Age, where there is a Rothschild, right? And then he sees you that you're from the Fifth Age, and he's like, oh, I mean, you know, somebody that's really rich and powerful and like owns everything.
That's nice.
Well, yeah, you know that little funny thing you did with the money that my dad's gave you. Well, that was for mission, right? And well, you did use it for the mission, and you pocketed some money in the side, but that turns into a huge empire, and you've actually funded the MITHRILHAWKS without even knowing it, and so you're going into business with my dad, and we've got to take care of things here at Guanshu, get back over to Seer, and take care of all these things so that the timelines stay corrected and that you guys end up in the place where you're supposed to. Right?
Tristan, I am very relieved to hear you mention the timelines being corrected. I have grave concerns, although I must express my appreciation for our rescue. I think it would be foolish to overlook any alterations in these timelines. Whenever navigating the time sphere, there's always a risk of fracturing into separate time shards, and the entire multiverse could suffer as a result. These missions must be handled with the utmost care.
This is very true, my friend, and thank you for saying it. So after your folks, well, there's some things that you ought to know, but you can't just yet. But yes, your folks have been really your people, right? Have been stewarding the timelines here on Earth for thousands of years before the last reckoning. And so the Mithrihawks, and if you remember, Tahor Mithriel, that's my dad. At least when he was in the Third Age with you all, you remember his work was helping in that strategy and in that way. The Cthulhu were not invading in your timeline, in your time in the Third Age, because you all were so strong and well organized, right? You guys did a really good job, and you were actually one of the strongest teams of Mithril-Hawks, if you can call them that at the time. They weren't called that; there was something else, but either way. So what we're doing is actually correcting something that was a really big mistake that would have ended up the whole world enslaved back in the Third Age when you all were around, right? Because something happened in your future in the Third Age before the Fourth Age happened, where they tried to invade, and we have to stop them. I mean, we're going to do everything that they did in the past to stop them. It's a little challenging if you understand my meaning. As somebody who understands the timelines, you can reckon.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that is a shared mission with the Thunderglade clan and my assigned mission as well.
Yeah.
To make sure that the Two-Eye Stone receives proper placement.
That's right.
And that it can serve its function in protecting the timelines. However, and when I first arrived within this location, it seemed as if all had gone according to plan. However, with whatever had happened to my colleague, it appears something dark has befallen this timeline.
Yep, that's right. And that brings us back to your original question, Lachlan, is what is she? Well, so the Cthulhu have this nasty little habit. They have a hive mind, right? They're all ruled by their connected, unified consciousness, yep? Well, the way they spawn, one of the ways that they spawn, is these little squid-like things that are, about yay big. And what they do is they're like little worms, and they go inside your mouth, and they crawl into your esophagus, bite through your esophagus, climb up your spine, the bit of bone underneath your skull here. This is your skull, right? And he says he's using some medical terms, and he wants to make sure that everybody's on board, right? And he says it crawls up your spine here under the base of your skull and wraps its tendrils all up in your brainicle, and it starts moving you like a puppet. And so you become like a prisoner in your own body, and that's what happened to your friend Zavifa there. And we reckon it happened nearly right after you left, actually. And so that unfortunate lass has been run like a robot for the past 2,000 years. 3,000, almost going on 3,000 now. So, and they're immortal in the way that they can maintain the body and make sure it stays, especially one of your stature and of your race, you guys live long anyway. So it wasn't hard for it to, make it last longer. Does that answer your question, Lachlan?
I see. Well, that provides me some relief, knowing that we might have put her out of her misery, but it seems that she might have escaped regardless. As reluctant as I am to even consider going back to prevent her infection with this parasite, perhaps that is a worthwhile cause.
Well, that's the wonderful thing about this whole adventure, right? Is like we can go back after we stop what we need to stop. You can go back and prevent an aspect of it, and this whole little bit will have been lost to the valleys of time, and the planet will be saved. And nobody will know, except for us. And we'll sing songs about each other, because, that's how it goes.
And what is this? I pull out one of the ogre's potions.
Oh, he says that. Right. So, what that does is prevents those ogres, in their minds, from being taken over by whatever Zavifa is, the Cthulhu spawn, right? In case
they serve the Mind Flayer, but they're not controlled by the Mind Flayers?
Correct. They, the way that they structured their deals back in the past, so it's Zavifa, right? It's not the Mind Flayers. I'm sorry, the Cthulhu's. It's not the Cthulhu's. It's actually Zavifa, who is a forward operator for the Cthulhu invasion, right? She was setting up the world on the ground so that they would succeed, because an outright invasion just wouldn't work. They had to do it through subversion. And so to do that, at the end of the Third Age, after the moon was destroyed, there was a number of Oni that survived, but they survived high up in the mountains. She went and found them and promised them a more glorious return to power, right? So they were in it for their own reasons, which is how the Cthulhu's work, is they go in and take over using people's own urges against them, if you will, right? Or towards their ends, right? So they were working for her, working for the Cthulhu's, not wanting to become a Cthulhu themselves. Does that make sense? And Lachlan, Loyal, while you guys are talking...
I've got one more question.
I just want to interject this real quick. Elriel is looking at Loyal, and Loyal, you can sense that he's like staring you down, and you can feel his thoughts. Like, is he truly honorable? Will he be able to do this? Those are you can hear his thoughts, and you're kind of like bugged out because you don't know why you can all of a sudden hear his thoughts. Okay. And so go ahead, Loyal, Lachlan.
And which one's Elriel again?
Elriel is the elf, the big.
Elriel is the big winged elf.
Yeah, and while all other elves that you know,
Guy?
yeah, yep, and while all the other elves you know in the Fourth Age are shorter than humans, Elriel is as tall as Sundu, so like 6'5", maybe a little bit taller. And Sundu,
Okay.
while you're looking at him, he is a sky mithril elf. He's one of the highest elves in the Third Age. In fact, in all of the elven kingdoms and fey elves that were on the planet, they were the rulers, so to speak. They were like every other tribe, every other type of elf. They always revered them. And whenever they came to speak, like at a very high, big, important gathering, they were always like, the shit, right? They were the most shiny. They were the most close to the creator, that kind of thing. They were like effortless and super magical. They had psionics amongst them. I mean, they were like really highly advanced. And when you look at this one, even though he's got his helm on, and you don't see any horns and you don't see any bioluminescence, but you see the stature and you can sense the radiance of them, and it's almost as if there hasn't been a degradation other than the loss of horns and bioluminescence, right? So out of all of the other kinds of things that you've seen on your journey here in the Fourth Age, where you see everything kind of diminished, here's something that reminds you of the Third Age that is not diminished, right? It kind of like, you're like, whoa, you even feel that same sort of like awe that all of the elves would have for these guys. So,
Right.
Lachlan, did you want to ask a question again?
Yeah, I do, but out of character really quick, I just have to say I've been really enjoying the fact that as Tristan has been giving us this talk, me and Loyal are kind of like light and in this thing and looking, and then you've got Sundu in the shadows, sitting back like this, just watching.
Yeah.
Quietly watching, and I'm like, man, that fits his character so well.
Right.
Yeah,
Even though
totally.
we're like, yeah, okay, tell us more.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that was really cool. Anyways, yeah, so I say, okay, I get all that. What are we infected with?
Well, from what I gather, and I am privy to a lot of information, and some of it I can share, some of it I can't. But I will say this: when Loyal touched the 2R stone and prevented it from, according to your reports right now, Lachlan, you gave us this report at another time 2 days ago for me, right? That the 2R stone was held in this stasis chamber, like a containment unit inside the Shinto's castle. And Loyal, stopped it from falling over, which would have been devastating for everyone, right? And when he did that, he actually, a short circuit happened when you had your chain from the containment unit to the actual stone itself, and it short circuited the whole thing. Those things are not supposed to touch, and with your clever use of your little staff grappling hook there, you really moved things along, which actually turned out good for you all, because you're going to need that. So the 2R stone exists both in this reality and in every timeline as well, right? And it is sort of like a bridge between them all. Yeah. And it is also the protection unit for this planet preventing a Cthulhu invasion back in the First Age. We're talking 80,000 years ago, right? And so it's not degraded in its power, and it's not degraded in its abilities, and that in of itself makes it a relic of tremendous power. Now, when that short circuit happened, it went into self-destruct mode, right? Which would have ended the planet. I mean, no big deal, right? It just would have ended everything. But when Loyal stepped in and put his life on the line for that, and his connection with Columbia Mithriel, which I assume you all are going to meet someday, she and the stone talked, I guess, and when the electrical field went off, the basically Loyal agreed at a soul level to take over its job in case it broke, and it agreed and didn't break, and infused him with a bit of himself, of the stone itself, at a very tiny level. They call it quantum in the future. Loyal might know that word.
I don't know too much about that math stuff.
Yeah. And so, and because the radiant field, amplified at that time in that containment unit, and you all were right next to it, you also are part of the story, as so it seems, and are sort of integral to the Two-Eye Stone fulfilling its duty. And we're going to need you to do that relatively soon, actually.
All right, then.
Does that answer your question?
I think it does, yeah.
Right. Good. In that case, I'll introduce you to the captain and his first mate, Texas, and Q, if you remember Q at the headquarters, his twin brother, Uke, which is both Q backwards and stands for Eucalyptus something or other, and I can't remember it, but he's a good chap.
And
Is the Emperor and his Queen okay?
He's like, oh boy, that's going to be a rough one.
if this guy's kind of like staring me down after a while, like I don't know if we can jump to this now or want to do it later, but like I'm just gonna have to like step up to him and get in his space and just look up at him and be like, hey, do you have a problem with me? Like, what's going on? Because I just can't take the tension and him just staring at me. So.
Okay. All right. Let's do that. So you kind of, as soon as you notice that you're hearing his thoughts in your head, right? Which is fucking weird because that's the first time that's ever happened for you. Or wait, did he have the helmet on in the battle and understood? Lachlan, do you remember?
I think I did hear him right before we came up to the ship. I heard him briefly.
Right. Okay.
When he first saw me with the helmet on.
So you're not quite certain whether he can hear you or not, but the minute you are like, dude, I gotta fucking do something. This is fucking weird. He like looks away, right? And it was almost as if he got caught hearing your thoughts and was surprised that he could hear your thoughts. And so as you step up to him and you say, you know, what was it that you said exactly?
I just say, is there a problem between us? Like, I feel like I'm going a little crazy here. I'd be either feeling your intentions towards me or hearing your thoughts, and I want to know what the problem is. I thought we were on the same side, fighting for the same thing here.
And he's like, and you hear in your head, you can hear me?
And then I attempt to think back, yes, I can.
Okay. And he is like, interesting. And then his demeanor like totally changes, and he's like letting you know that he's like got no problem with you, and he's very intrigued, if anything, and you can feel curiosity. You can hear his curiosity. All right. So when you say Tristan, let's skip here to. Do you guys want to do the captain or talk about the Shinto?
What?
Did you want to introduce to the captain, or do you want to talk about the Shinto real quick?
Oh, then that's fine. We can go to the captain.
Okay, so
unless there's pertinent information about the Shinto, Lachlan was just basically checking they made it okay, they're fine.
Yeah, Tristan basically is like he's talking with his wife. He's got to like explain how he was sleeping with an Oni and find out how many times he was doing that, and you know they've got some stuff to work out. poor guy. Oh, jeez. And then right when that happens, Captain Drake comes up and he's like, "It's a pleasure to meet you. Welcome aboard the Waverider. I believe this is your first foray onto the Waverider, Lachlan Windshear. Is that correct?" And he bows low. He bows low like a...
Thank you, Captain Drake. It's a beautiful ship.
He says, "It's a pleasure to have you aboard. It's a historic occasion for you to be here." And he looks at Sundu and he bows low and he says, "My deepest respect, Master Timekeeper. Thank you for gracing our ship with your presence."
And
That's to Sundu.
I appreciate you as well.
And Texas...
Thank you for providing safe passage for our party.
He's like, "Well, we were in the middle of in the middle of something else when Tristan came aboard and said we had to get here straight away, and we made it as fast as we could. I hope it worked out." Looking at the Shinto and her queen, his queen and his two right-hand men, I could say that they did pretty well, I suppose. It's a good thing that you were there. He doesn't have an Australian accent. Tristan does. I'm sorry, I've been using the wrong accent.
That's all good.
A little bit of whiskey. I got on a roll. Like, I really loved it, you know.
There's some quantum entanglement happening there.
Yeah, he's so he says, "No, it's an honor to have you. You know, we made it straight away. This is my first mate, Texas Sun. He is a he makes sure that our sails are full and that the sun sword that powers this vessel is working properly, and that, you know, these are big guns. And this is our other big guns, even though he comes in a small package. And this is Uke. His name is Eucophinius Delphinian. Eucophinius Delphinian. I gotta write that down with a pen that works. Can you get a pen that works? With a quickness. And he says he is our engineer, and he'll see to any of your equipment needs. And yeah, just don't piss him off. He has a short temper, and it's not good when Uke goes off. All right. He says the ship is yours. There are cabins in the forward hold for you. My personal quarters are in the back. If you need to see me, you may do so. We are currently headed to the Shinto's castle, and we'll be there in about 20 minutes. And he turns and walks away.
Oh, before he walks away.
Yeah.
I reach into my backpack and pull out one of the bottles of sake, and I give it to him as a gift, and I say, "Thank you for your hospitality on your ship."
Oh, he's like, "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Windshear. I'll put this in my private collection." He's like, and as he's walking away, he's like, "You know, this is going to be worth like a lot of money in like 800 years, at the height of your empire." And he walks away.
I've gotten that idea. Yeah. Enjoy it.
And Texas is looking over you guys, and Captain Drake disappears, goes back here. So Texas looks at you, and
all right. I want to get a look at all the items when we return.
Okay, so you guys just want a montage, or does anybody have anything specific they want to address right now?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, good.
So what happens is Texas basically, questions you about the Third Age. He's like super excited, interested about it. He wants to know everything, Sundu. So if you have the time, he would love to pick your brain about the Third Age.
Yeah. I mean, we said did you say we're 20 minutes out from the?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, I think right now my main priority is sort of checking back in with the two-eye stone once we return.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess I can spend some time kind of schooling them.
Okay, awesome. And then you guys we'll talk about the two-eye stone, and you learn some more about it. Not necessarily stuff that you didn't know, but from a new perspective, like how it. What you're gaining is a perspective of the Fourth Age, of the two-eye stone, and like the Third Age from the perspective of the Fourth Age, right? So you are seeing the results of its effect in this timeline, how it's affecting these people already, you know? So it's part of your research, and like as you're educating, you're also learning from him integral stuff. So when you go back and report that this was a good place to send it, or not, that you have your own data and reasoning why. And he is an intelligent man. He's a wizard, and he understands history, ancient history, and the planes and the planets. So he is a very knowledgeable individual, and will give you a great perspective. Got it?
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. And Loyal, you were standing there with between Tristan and Elriel, and Yuke comes up to you, Lachlan, and is basically asking to see his brother's work in the staff. The cable thing, the grappling hook. Oh, and your staff of striking, right? And
Okay.
and he says,
Well, I haven't looked at that yet, but yeah.
yeah. So if you look at a staff of striking, what it
I've
does.
got that in the hole.
Okay. All right. So okay, let's do a montage. The Shinto-ji comes up to you, Loyal, while you're standing with Tristan and Elriel, and he bows really low, and he is like,
I bow back.
yeah, he's like, thank you so much for saving my family and my wife and making sure that we are remaining safe. And he looks around at the ship, and he's like, and he looks at Tristan and Elriel, and it's like he's never seen anything like these people, or like in the last 2 days, his world has been changed forever. He's seen blue people, he's seen green people, he's seen flying people, he's seen his ancient ancestors, all of the stories that he was taught when he was a kid that he thought was just like, bullshit. This is our duty as honor bound, whatever. He's like super about it now. Like when you guys first showed up, he's like, he doesn't even know what's going on. I tried to play it that way. Him and his vizier were kind of like, who are these guys? We've heard about this, but what is this? Is this even real? And now after all of this, he's like, we have to protect this stone at all costs, right? And that's basically the essence of what he has to tell you. Tristan then comes up to you, Lachlan, and says, we're going to be on this trip to the Shinto's castle for 20 minutes. We're going to spend the rest of the day there, and then we're going to carry on and fly back to Seer. And that'll take about 4 days in the air. And then he's like, we have to set you up, set up your empire now, and make sure that, because you're not going to show up for another couple hundred years. So we've got to create a story of why you are immortal and how that you are able to address this company from many different times. But you're going to have a partner, like I said earlier. So so basically, what we have to do is we have to go to Guangzhou, and I'd imagine Sundu is going to want to take a look at the 2R stone, get some more data, and train, whatever. But we have to set you up there, get a portrait taken, it's just some business stuff, sign some paperwork, and then we'll get going to see it, do the same thing over there, and then we'll get you guys back right on the time that you're supposed to be, in the place that you're supposed to be. Sound good?
Sounds like a plan. Hey, Tristan, I have another question about the whole us being infected thing. What if I were to get blood in the mouth of someone who's been possessed by the Cthulhu?
Oh, jeez, that's a good one. He's like, Elriel, what do you suppose? Or Texas, you come over here. You know about the Cthulhus and the Cthulhu spawn. So, basically what you're saying is, you put your infected 2R stone blood in her mouth. Texas, what do you think?
I did.
Like, and he's like, you are a wild one. I can see why my dad likes you. All right. So he's like, Texas, what do you think? And Texas is like, well, that's a really interesting proposition. I would imagine that the nature of the 2-eye stone, if it were able to replicate in the body, would produce excruciating pain and perhaps even expel the Cthulhu spawn that's in her. I don't know how much damage it would do to her. I don't know how much damage it would do to her, and this is all speculation. I mean, I don't know what her immune system, and he says to you, Lachlan, he's like, that's the parts of your body that work to expel germs. He says, I don't know if it would be strong enough to expel or do it, and it would depend on how much nano 2-eye stones were in your blood at that specific time, at that specific place. So it's a good question. I don't have the specific answer, but I can speculate.
Do we have a way of removing Cthulhu's spawn?
That potion right?
So Loyal.
The potion that the.
Yeah. So Loyal.
Time out, guys.
Okay.
Okay, you're good.
Yeah, Loyal. You actually know what that spawn was. You've actually dealt with that in the Jumpgate project back in the Fifth Age, because the Cthulhu's, you're considering them aliens, and that they are trying to invade. But they have an entire history on Earth, Thal, right?
Right. But we don't have a way of preventing those things from taking over humans in the Fifth Age, do we?
No, you don't have a way of them preventing them taking over.
But we've learned that the Oni were drinking potions that prevent that. So essentially, if someone has one of those, I would think force feed them one of those potions, and that would eject the parasite.
So they came up in the medical lab in your age. They came up with a way to surgically remove one of these things with a concoction of drugs and other things. But it killed the host, which was somebody from Jumpgate Squad 2, or I'm sorry, Squad 4. You're from Squad 2.
So would this potion expel one safely from the body?
You don't know, but it might be worth a try.
All right, keep that in mind.
I'm not condoning that that's what will happen. I'm just saying, like, that's an interesting thing. Lachlan, you wanted to look at your... No, what was the last thing we left off?
Yeah, I want to see what's in my bag, and B, I want to talk to Eucathinius and ask him, does he make magical items as well?
And he says yes. So when you open your portable hole, you're still all standing in the same area right there, right? And you are you open the portable hole and you pull out like a bunch of beakers and like all kinds of other things that were like for experiments. You see a map of the Third Age. You see a map of the Fourth Age that you guys are in, and it has all kinds of annotations on it and everything. And I'll draw that up, and you'll have a map of the Third Age also, right? Like that picture that the map that we sometimes start off the episodes with. That's the Fourth Age. The Third Age looks different, so I'm gonna go ahead and work on that. But you also find a staff that is basically like a set of nunchucks. It's like a staff about yay big, maybe about 3 feet, or 3 feet long, kind of like yours, but it breaks apart in the middle and turns into nunchucks. Yeah, and you examine it with your device and you cast Identify, and you find that it is a staff of striking. So you're able to. It does a lot of damage. It's a +3 weapon, and it does a bunch of damage, and it has like 3 charges a day that you can then put lightning through it. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, so it does extra damage, and it does like an extra 3d6 or something.
Okay.
And he's like, ooh, Eucaphinius is like, ooh, that's really interesting. And then you pull out the little cube, which, if you remember Dragon Prince, the cartoon, have you ever seen it? That little cube that they find with the different runes on it, it looks exactly like that. And the symbols on it are very alien. They look kind of like paint symbols, like as if somebody took a brush on it, but it's raised up in mithril. And Yuke says, "Don't touch it! Oh God!" He's like, "Oh my!" Like you pull it up, and you're not holding any of the sides in particular. He's like, "Oh God!" He's like looking around, all around. He's like, "Oh!" And then he pulls his loincloth off, so he's now naked on the deck. And he wraps it up in the loincloth, and he puts it down on the deck. And he's just like standing there in shock, right? And he's got like his bazooka on his back and his goggles on his head, but he's now like full on naked. And he's like, "Oh my God, how did you, what is, oh," and he puts his hands to his temples. The other things that you find in there, we'll get to what he does after that, but the other things you find in there are 3 potions, Excelsius healing or something like that, like very high healing. And they have
20 points greater healing potions.
Greater healing potions, 20 points, correct. And then you also find a ring that is, it looks like it has a little shield on it, on the front, and it looks like a Sundu. It looks like something from your tribe, and you recognize it as a ring of protection.
Ah, sweet.
So that might be a suitable thing for Sundu to rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to grab onto that.
Yeah, so you can increase your armor class to 17. Okay.
Sweet.
And then you find also 5,000 gold piece diamonds, Lachlan. So 5 of those, and yeah, that's what it is.
Awesome.
All right. And then when Eucophenius makes that big, he throws off his clothes and wraps the cubic gate up in it, he gets the attention of pretty much everybody around, like Tristan, Loyal, Elriel, and like you guys were just having your psychic conversation, Loyal. And now is the time when like it gets interrupted by Eucophenius getting naked and throwing this loincloth on the floor.
So I found something
also
important, I'm guessing.
He's like, that was Zavifa. That is Zavifa's gate. And he says, Texas, God, this is Zavifa's gate. And Tristan's like, oh shit. And Tristan's like, so this is gonna be weird, but would you mind if I held on to that for a little bit? And he looks at you guys.
I'm gonna pop up the vision shield real quick, and roll.
Oh yeah, mine is down as well.
Yeah.
Like an Arcana check, I guess.
Yes, please.
See how that works out.
And a history check for you as well.
Ooh, okay, I'll roll history.
Okay, you don't know how it ties to Zavifa. And what was that? You rolled a 14 in Arcana, and then an 8 in History. Okay, perfect. So you know that it is a gate cube, a cubic gate. What it does is if you press one of the sides, it opens up. It makes like a like your mithril gates that you travel through. You know, that energy field. It makes like basically a 10-foot energy field, and it teleports you to another dimension and or plane and or planet. Okay? That it can be used to cross vast distances. It does not go through time. It just goes in the current time you're in to certain planes, certain planets, or certain dimensions. Okay?
So interesting.
Lachlan's feeling a little bit like, I don't really want to give this to Tristan.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Tristan would sense my hesitation.
Yeah, he totally does, and he basically is like, I can sense your hesitation. and he says, he's like, I wouldn't want to give it to me either. In fact, I don't really want it. What I want to make sure is that, first, God, how do I put this? This gate was made in the Third Age, right? So, some of the places that it goes may or may not still be there, so it would be dangerous in that regard, right? Second, we sort of need you here, focused on the mission, if you will, because the whole world depends on it. But I can see a future where you are using this to do extra stuff in the future, having to do with the planes and other dimensions, and indeed other planets. And I'd like for you to do that. I just don't want you to get yourself killed before then, if that makes sense. And he said,
you have a safe way of keeping this for us?
Yeah, actually, we have another one of these, something like it actually, with a couple other operatives, and we've been keeping it at the MITHRILHAWKS school at the beginning of the Fourth Age, if you remember that, keeping it safe with Yuke's brother Q in a containment field of its own. And they've got a skull that speaks with a certain demon in a certain plane, and this cube here goes to that plane, to that demon who's been working with the Cthulhu's, and it's not a good idea to accidentally press that button, and then you're there with him and he's like, I'm gonna eat you, that wouldn't be fun. So
Have
So-
you seen this cube in operation?
No, but I saw the other one, the one that the sisters have, and yeah, it's a really powerful, potent thing.
Does it?
And
Do you know? Does it instantly teleport the user, or does it create, as the name implies, a gate that any number of entities could travel through in either direction?
yeah, that's basically it too. It creates a separate containment field that on the other end would look like a bright bubble, let's say, kind of like the teleportation that we have here. And if a curious entity on the other side sees one of those, and the lower denizen planes actually know what they are and would jump at the chance to come in here. So now, while I can see you guys using this to great effect, actually, and we may, and he looks at Yuke and he's like, "This was unexpected, wasn't it?" And Yuke's like, "Yep," and Texas is like, "Yes, this was very unexpected." He's like, "It's not supposed to cross with this time." And Tristan's like, "Oh shit, I wonder what else we fucked up." He's like, "Because when you mess with time, it tends to mess back, right?" So there's a number of things in play right now, and until dear old Dad and and Lucius at the MITHRILHAWKS school can kind of work out what's supposed to be going on, it would be safer for everybody if we would just hold on to this for like 2 episodes.
Sounds like a safe bet.
Yeah.
He's like, because if I know for a fact that if you pumped one of these buttons right here, in Yuke, what the hell were you thinking? Oh God, you didn't stain yourself, did you? I mean, this is like a relic, a one of a. And he's like, sorry. Anyway, because he's picking up the underwear, right, the loincloth, and he hands it off to Texas, and he's like, see that gets back to Lucius, right? And Texas is like, yeah, and he kind of like holding the loincloth like away from him, and Yuke's like, I'll get that back, right? I'll get that back. I need that. And
yeah, you do, Yuke. Somebody get this gnome some pants.
So he actually follows Texas, right? And he leaves the deck, and what? Then Tristan comes, he brings you all close, and he's like, he kind of like gets you in a huddle. He's like, if you were to press one of those buttons, I know for a fact at this time, in this age, if you were to press one of those buttons, you'd end up in space, dead, no air to breathe, and nobody to rescue you, nothing going on. You'd be floating around until you decided to fall back to the earth in like a heaping pile of mass of flaming, nothing. It goes to the moon in the third age. It goes to the moon that was, the illusion moon, Sundu, if you remember. And he says the actual illusion moon's name, which escapes me now. I'd have to go back and look at the episodes.
Sure.
And he's like, because that's where they were based. That's where the Cthulhu's were based in the third age. They were observing the planet, waiting for the invasion time. And
incredible.
Yeah, and so they sent one of their spawn, and as soon as the spawn got here and took over Zavifa, with the technical know-how that she had, created with its technology, the Cthulhu technology, and her mind, created this little fucking cube here. That's no good for anybody. But we might be able to use it to our advantage in the future.
All right.
He's like,
incredible.
You're a good man, Lachlan Windshare, and I appreciate you.
Don't insult me like that.
He's like, now you sound like the Windshare executive that we all know and love. So then, unless you guys have anything else specific you want to do right now or say, we'll fast forward to the Shinto Castle again, go over some things, and rather than...
I want to talk with Yuke a little bit.
Okay, yeah, what do you want to cover?
Basically, I want to ask him about making magical items, and if he doesn't, I want to ask him about ideas that I have for modifying the HUD.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know about Staff of Striking.
Yep.
What does he think about the possibility of transferring that electrical charge to my staff.
That's
so he can carry that from now on.
That's great. I was actually thinking about that and how appropriate that would be. So he's like, I'll show you how to take the magical charge of one item and replicate it on another magical item, right?
All right.
And he's like, so, but we have to destroy the staff of striking or these nunchucks of striking, actually. And once we do that, we will be able to transfer that potent energy. You'll know how to build a staff of striking from that point on. And then you'll be able to, make your item that way. And those gems that you found, those will be really helpful as well. So hold on to those.
All right.
So that's what you guys do. You spend that time doing that. And rather than putting your... I just opened the map. If you look back to the Shinto's castle, right?
Hasn't changed for me yet.
I just revealed the area. It's in the top left of the map field.
Zoom right out.
Oh yeah, there's.
Yeah, and if you remember, inside this shrine here, why isn't it not clicking? Oh, I need to put it on select. On this shrine right here, that's where the two-eye stone was. The Shinto and his family also live in here. This was a prison. There was the agriculturalist and the guy who made the potions and is going to do the saffron collecting for you, Lachlan, with Fauji, right? And then up here you had the blacksmith, and that's who helped you put together your stone heads-up display. So we'll do the heads-up display on the trip out, but I just want to go over a couple things while we're here. So when you're here, you go back to the alchemist, and Tristan kind of walks you through this, Lachlan. He's basically like, he says, we've got to set up your legacy in the Shinto's kingdom in such a way that it has longevity, that it can last a couple hundred years, so that the spice and the wine business that you've set up with Seer will last, right? And so we're gonna tie you into the Shinto's line here, and basically you're gonna have to show up every couple of hundred years, make sure everything's going well, make an appearance. You will be this mythical creature to them who has helped define their kingdom, and they will be holding a high place of regard for you. So they're gonna have to sit you down and make a painting of you, right? So you guys, you do that. Is there anything else anybody else wants to do while we are here at the Shinto's castle? Loyal?
No, I kind of want to ask about that. If that's because that was not in the previous timeline, correct? Like him setting that deal up has added this to the timeline.
That was that's actually part of what would have happened naturally anyway. And that's one of the reasons why Xavier Waverider of the Fourth Age chose him, because he knew that he couldn't he would be subject to his nature, and he would do what he does. And doing what he does has set up like the first Marco Polo trading route between the East and the West, cool. Helps open up and really solidifies Guangzhou's place in the Asian realms and as a powerhouse. And that's going to set off, it's going to have a whole bunch of repercussions that you guys will find out about later. But it's basically like, also, I'm going to get to this in a little bit, but when you get to Seer, you're going to meet one of Xavier Waverider's ancestors and go into business with him and set up the first bank in the Western kingdoms and stuff like that, right? Mm. So you're actually helping build the Earthall civilizations of humans. Right?
Okay.
So it gets real quantum because, the MITHRILHAWKS have an effect on the whole civilization and help keep it in balance. And anything that they do, they have to maintain and make sure that it actually benefits the expression of life's longing for itself here on Earthall, right? In a balanced way.
Even though Lachlan has to admit that his initial motivation for doing this scheme wasn't to save the world.
Nope. Nope.
This little side hustle that was about to earn you a pretty penny.
Exactly.
So I'm familiar with this in the Fifth Age, then this organization.
No. Like all records of everything except in the jump gate room are like in your jump gate project, you have these pads. They're basically like a translucent iPad that you can look up information on, and it's like a full database, you know. But you have to search it, and you need to know that this existed to have to search for it, right? And you weren't briefed on it because it wasn't mission critical, and frankly, you weren't really too interested, as far as I could tell. You know what I mean? You might you might tell me different, but the way you've acted has sort of been like, you're a soldier. Point me in the right direction. Tell me what I need to know.
No, I'm not super interested. I was just wondering if it's something like Marco Polo, if it was something like history-wise that was taught in school about the wind shear dynasty or whatever.
Like, oh shit, that's you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So no, in the same way that we don't have any actual evidence or historical accounts of people from Atlantis, for instance, or pre-Diluvian age, right? It's basically like civilizations for you in the Fifth Age, like you're in 2020, right? And it's basically the same history of our world. And you even have the same kind of character. So when Tristan said, Rothschild, your ears perked up because like, how would he know that name? And then he noticed that you noticed, and he was like, I don't know anything about that, because you've never seen him at the jump gate rooms, but he's been there.
Sundu's like, Lachlan, I must say you are very lucky that this has turned out in the way that it did.
Yeah, right.
When you try to refract the timeline through one shard of the time sphere, you could end up with a time tangle.
Yeah.
And once a certain line lapses over itself too many times, you risk fracturing the entire sphere, which would be a dire consequence for all of creation.
Yeah, this is great.
Foolhardy to risk it in order to sell some bottles of sake.
But some do.
But I can also
bottles of sake.
Well, I can appreciate that your doing so has actually helped to fund this very mission upon which we embark currently, which will eventually help retain the sanctity of the time sphere.
Yeah,
so there is good in it as well.
Yeah, and you're kind of like this little fucking upstart, degenerate kind of creature. Like how back in your day, back in my day,
right? That's his vibe, totally.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are like so much more responsible. Have you ever guys seen that meme about how the Klingons and the Vulcans? The Klingons are like, how can you let the Earthlings use all of this technology, and the Klingons are like, the Vulcans are like, wait a minute. We give them one warp drive, they strap 8 warp drives to it and see if they can blast through reality. Like, and they die so quickly that they don't know that, but we get to watch them and we get all of the data so we can build better shit, So
like a guinea pig race.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how you see Lachlan, right? It's like, you get that his nature, like the whole equation of the time sphere relies on everybody fulfilling their nature, right? And you Tahor Mithrael, how wise he is and how far-seeing he is and all of this, and like your people have a great deal of respect for him, and if he chose, this guy, it might have been for this specific reason. But you also are like a little bit pissed that he would go back and try to have them rewrite, the rescue so that they could come and save you. So you have like a number of issues with Lachlan right now in that regard.
Yeah. Right, yeah, actually that's true, because you're the one who asked them to come back and save us, right? So I'm like, I'm pissed that I'm still alive. Number one.
All right, well, I pull out a string and like get it into like a like a shape like this around my fingers.
Yeah.
And I say, Lachlan, Sundu, the thing that I've noticed about all of this is that every action you take, and I start doing a cat's cradle, brings you to one point, which might bring you to another point, which might bring you to another point. But the universe is pretty set in what it wants and what it knows, and it's pretty strong about how it's going to get there, no matter what we stupid, silly people decide to do. It always ends up, and I pop it back to normal, and I say, the way it's supposed to be.
Well, I can appreciate your optimism, Lachlan.
Loyal.
However,
Yeah.
if that were true in its entirety, then we may as well abandon the entire mission right now, for what does any of it matter?
No, but we have to make the choices until our destiny is revealed to us.
You're lucky, Lachlan. Don't forget that.
It's not luck. It's the universe's will, buddy.
How do you feel about that, Loyal?
Yeah, I'm more on the will side as well. Yeah, like the world and the universe is going to give you whatever it's decided it's going to give you, and you're just along for the ride. So
that was actually when you guys joined the jump gate room. That was actually part of like the training. It was basically like the universe is structured in such a way where all things are set. Everything has happened, right? It's just a choice of what you choose to experience in all of the potential realities, and you have to make conscious and exerted effort. Maximum effort, as Deadpool would say. And that General Hawk says that there are a number of ways that our time stream can turn out, and most of them end up really terrible, with the Cthulhu's taking over and it becoming hell on earth. And that's one of the things when they really showed you just how on the very edge your world is from total annihilation, that you found the inner will to kind of be like, well, fuck that. You know what I mean? Like, we have to stop that. Like, we have to make a better outcome. How does that sit with you?
Yeah, sounds just right.
Okay. So you guys wrap up everything that you'd need to do at Guansho. Do you want to check the Two-Eye Stone and talk to the Shinto?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you all three, Loyal, are you trying to go find some tail, or are you going to go back to the Two-Eye Stone?
yeah, no, I'm totally going for some tail. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
In fact, I think Lachlan's going to join him on that one today.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do that, why don't you both roll a persuasion check for me?
Okay. Persuasion.
Glad to see our team of elite units is
Staying on mission here.
Part of the mission, yeah.
Oh.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We both did not score.
So funny. You got
We ended up
5
just,
and a
like,
6.
trying for a while and then get really drunk together.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Talking the rest of the night. Being like, I didn't want to score anyways, whatever.
Yeah. And I wake up like so remorseful, like I failed my God, my deity, and I'm like totally shamed for the next like 48 hours.
All right. Okay. Cool. And so you go to the Shinto's temple and to the Two-Eye Stone Sundew, and you see that it is operating in it's like smooth operations right now. Looks good. The chain was removed obviously a long time ago. You put the device back together, if you recall, and set the parameters and everything, and it's like hell. It's good. And you have a meeting with the Shinto and the Vizier, and you impress upon them how vital it is that this be protected for generations, and that you institutionalize it with the prince, and you get the prince in there too. And is there anything you want to say to the prince?
Yeah, I think Sunday would absolutely have to recommend. Of course, he's going to enter like with his kind of harsh tone, but also realizing that this is like a sort of a whole generation of this town that like appreciates his authority as this elder race,
Yeah.
And so he shows up and is like, "This cannot happen again. Of course, it should go without saying. Perhaps some of your sorcerers can develop some more prudent systems of detection in order to prevent the sort of deception and treachery that happened, the infiltration, precisely."
And the Vizier is like nodding. He's like, yes, sir. This is very, very prudent. Yes. And the Shinto is listening, and the prince is like looking at you askance, like kind of like why didn't they take the stone? He actually says that. He's like, why didn't they take the stone before you showed up? And the Shinto is like, what's the prince's name? I forgot. Let's see here.
Hey, what information are the Emperor and everyone privy to as far as to what we faced after they left?
Um,
Well, like the monk was there and stuff, so they probably know it all.
the monk was there, yes, and they know what had happened.
All right, we have to ask a serious question here. If Zavifa was taken over by the Cthulhu pretty much right after Sundu left, why does this town have a statue of her that honors her?
Yeah, that's an excellent point, Lachlan. We need to re-examine the teachings of Zafifa if she was influential in your city's culture.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
most assuredly do, because obviously there would be some sort of hidden agenda.
Yeah.
Good catch. So, so how do we reconcile and retcon the fact that you're out trying to get tail and you just came up with this great idea and Sundu's like, on the other side of town, as it were?
How about we're how about we are both like totally drunk, me and Loyal at a bar, and I go, "Oh my god,
Right.
I gotta go, I gotta go."
No, but the thing is actually we were about to make it with some girls. And you
We're just about there.
yeah.
So that totally ruined your shot, Loyal, and that's why you guys get such low rolls.
Yeah, it's like I gotta go.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
I run back to the temple because I'm like, wait a minute, this is
Yeah.
a problem.
Okay, and we'll have it be just as you run past all the guards, and they're actually bowing and allowing you to pass, and are very already have respect for you and everything, and you can kind of go anywhere. So what happened was the prince said, why didn't she take the stone until you showed up? And then right there and then Lachlan comes bursting through, and he's like, hold on.
And I look to like a guard next to me and I say, "Green tea, keep it coming."
All right.
And then I proceed to explain this whole thing in like a slightly trying to, I think Lachlan's pretty used to getting drunk and having to act normal.
Right.
So
Right.
I attempt to act normal in this situation.
Well, how about you roll for that? What would that be?
Okay.
A charisma. Let's do a charisma check.
Acting or charisma?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no acting. Okay, so
There's a,
Performance. Yeah.
there you go.
There you go. This is awesome.
17.
Right. So you button up and you're like, hold on.
I think I have like an English accent.
Yeah. Okay. So
I have been studying the books.
yeah. So tell us. Act out. Tell us what you're gonna say.
All right, let me think about it. I come into the room. I look at that guard and I say, "Green tea, keep it coming."
Mm-hmm. He runs and
And
goes.
then
Yeah.
I say, "Gentlemen, we need to discuss something." Oh, excuse me. Savifa, from what Tristan told us, was taken over by a Cthulhu right after you left, Sundu. Is that not correct?
Indeed, that seems to be the timeline.
If that's the case, then why? I really like that painting over there. But if that's the case, then why is there a statue of Zafifa in this city that honors her?
And the vizier steps in, and Prince Shintoji says, "Prince Shijan," when he asks you so disrespectfully, as only a kid would do. And then Lachlan busts in, says what he says, and then Vizier kind of to deflect the attention from the prince and what had just happened, that terrible guffaw, because they're very polite, right? They super well buttoned up. He says, well, as the legend goes, the timekeepers helped our people when we first arrived on this planet. As the story goes, it was much before my time, but there was one who helped us very significantly, and that was this Zavifa. That was her name. We call her Zev. And she was the one who taught us how to contain the Two-Eye Stone and take care of it, and why to protect it, and how to build the basic remnants, or the basic rudimentary structures of our society here. Of course, we grow rice and we grow a number of crops and we are very much agriculturalists. But she helped us set up our kingdom essentially. That's as the legends go. And he's like, we have scrolls we can go through if you would like.
Yes, I think we'll need to see those scrolls. And where's my green tea?
No, it showed up. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you. So I'm like now drinking that, and I say, is there a place that I can sit and read? And Sundu, our visors, do they connect to your history at all? Can I study your history through these things? They seem to come with knowledge. Can I study events?
The vision shields do contain, through the vibrational facets of it, it does contain sort of a knowledge, a memory, if you will, of events that have occurred, especially those in the Third Age. It can be difficult to access, however, and I understand you are actually doing a great job getting a hang of how to navigate the system of the vision shield.
Now, your vision shield traveled with you in time, but mine has sat through time and had experiences.
Yeah.
So my vision shield most likely witnessed events that have something to do with Zavifa. If this shield does come from your tribe, which it seems to. So I'm going to... Basically, Lachlan is now going to spend the rest of the night, however long it takes him, he's going to pour through the old scrolls and compare them to what information I can garner from my shield, and see what I can find out about Zavifa's story and what happened, and see what I can witness, and see what I might be able to like glean from it or figure out.
Okay, so just to back up a couple minutes, when you guys first arrived, the ship floated above the Shinto's quarters here that you guys are in, where the Two-Eye Stone is, right? There was a procedure before you arrived in like populated lands, because you're only flying, I don't know, like 6 stories up, right? You're pretty close to the ground. Yuke and Texas worked the technology and his spellcraft and made the ship invisible. And the way you guys got down was basically jumping down with the Xavier Waveriders. Oh, and by the way, when you guys were on the ship, Tristan gave you, the captain gave you, and he should have done this when I first introduced him. But Texas would have given you each a ring to put on, which are Xavier's Waverider. And what those are is basically like a surfboard. And whenever you use it, like if you fall, what'll happen is as you fall, you will slow down, and then a board will appear below you, and you can get on it. So if you ever fall overboard, you get yourself a floating surfboard that can fly back up. Make sense?
Nice.
That's cool.
You can use
How long does it last?
It lasts a long time. Like it lasts a couple hours.
So if I start using it just regularly for the fun of it, that would work.
Yep. And that's the way you guys will deploy and get back onto the ship.
All right.
Okay. So you do some research. Sundu, do you want to say anything to the prince or to the Shinto in regards to that, or do you want to transition and help Lachlan in that way?
Yeah, I think before I disappear to help Lachlan, I'm going to kind of affirm what they're guessing, though, is that there could be a great maleficent influence deep within their culture that they're not aware of, and that this visit that we thought might have been just an easy check-in actually could be more significant if we're having to not only look for the safety of the stone, but also possibly recalibrate the culture that was designed to protect it, because something has run afoul within that culture.
Make a perception check, or 20-sided perception check for me.
Sure. Just like a D20, you mean?
Perception.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Oh, yeah, +8, baby.
Nice.
Yes. So when you say that, you in your heads-up display vision shield, you see the heart rate of the vizier and of the prince go up a little bit.
I'm just gonna be transparent right through that and say, I know this may make you anxious, but these are things which we must all examine.
And the Shinto says, "Do you mean that we are still infiltrated?" He doesn't seem to understand.
That is a possibility, but what I'm speaking about here is not a physical parasite. This is more of a seed of an idea that Zavifa would have planted within your traditions and within her instructions. I'm grateful that you have a written record of it so that we may examine it, but I think it's quite possible that her influence, or that her betrayal, is not complete, that there's more to come.
Master Timekeeper, what should we do?
I cannot yet say, but keep yourselves available as we review these records, as we might require some further clarification.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have any of these guys that we know of tried that potion?
Have any of these people tried that safety potion that the Oni were using?
Yeah.
Didn't you guys try to make somebody drink it? Like when you first found out about it,
I was trying to remember.
I don't recall. Loyal, do
I
you recall?
thought we went, did a whole rundown at the castle after we found out about the queen.
Yeah, I seem to recall that you guys had everybody drink it to see if
we had some way of finding out, right?
Yeah.
Did we?
I don't remember.
But that was for the Oni to see if they were Oni. It wasn't the parasite. Yeah.
Exactly.
So we don't know if these guys have parasites.
Right.
Correct.
And we have those potions. We could try it.
That would probably be a way to do it.
Yep.
How many potions do you have?
Probably like 4 or 5 at this point.
Yeah. So,
actually, probably more than that.
So what you could do? Yeah, didn't we get the alchemist to make some more?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, he's been working on that. I mean, it's only been 2 days or 1 day really. You guys went out yesterday and are getting back now. It's actually nighttime, and yeah, that's really interesting. So, Lachlan, you want to do an investigation check for me and tell me exactly what you're looking for in terms of hints and clues for their culture.
What do you guys think? Do you think I should try to slip something in, like, the prince's drink?
No, I think you should openly communicate our requirements. Like,
all right.
You might not even have to use it if they get scared and.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I rolled a 14, and basically, I am looking for just basically anything that mentions Zavifa or something that sounds like Zavifa. Or
you see record of Zavifa, and everything is like, what an amazing progenitor. Like everything is exaltatory, meaning like telling how amazing she was and like how grateful the culture is, and how they have been able to prosper while the other communities have not as well, and they've been able to become stronger because of her guidance, and they've been able to have strong military, and none of the other provinces mess with them. While they're not listened to and they don't have the direct line of the true emperor, they have been and fared better than all of the other tribes because of her influence, and they never intend to give up their dominant role and economically dominant role.
So I think
you have to think in long ages, right? You have to think in long-term plans.
Yeah, honestly, my character has more intelligence about this stuff than I do. So, like, I think I'll have to do some sort of an intelligence check to see if what I'm missing. I'm looking for things that stand out to me, things that, like, are out of the ordinary, things that, like, don't seem like a regular society becoming strong, things that maybe they became strong faster than they should have, and why, and laws that she put into place. And
okay, great, because you said that, so you get the teachings of Zavifa, right, which is sort of like a Tao Te Ching sort of art of war. So imagine it being the art of war and how to conduct warfare and how to do game theory and how to do warfare in such a way that makes you superior to your opponent. It also
Okay.
indicates how to do barter and trade in such a way that you get benefited from, that you benefit more than the other person. Like some of the basic tenets of economic dominance and military dominance. And basically, what you're seeing is that, and Sundu, I imagine you're there with him going through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking for any kind of clues.
Yeah, and it's basically that she's given them a position or a military and strategic thinking. You know, it's almost as if the tactics that your people used against the Oni to defeat their structured and ordered society, she took, mixed with a Cthulhu methodology of infiltration. This also has like a secret kind of doctrine on how to send spies into other neighboring communities to ensure that you're getting strong intel and that you are subverting the view of the average person in that community to make this community look better. You know, so it's like psychological warfare, the art of war, all of these things rolled into one, and are very advanced techniques for a fledgling, you know, or a small, you know, community like Guanshu.
So she was planting a seed for something to become stronger in the future, but why?
And just as you say, that, Tristan pops in and he's like, "Hello, fellas, ready to go? We got to get over to sea, and we've got a short window to do so."
Tristan, I'm not sure if we're able to leave just yet.
He's like, "Oh yeah, what was that?"
Well, Tristan, you've been around this city, have you not?
I mean, no. And he looks at the Shinto and he's like, "You know, you should build a platform on the top. I know you got these like pointy things and everything, but it'd be better if it were flat. I'm just saying, you know, in the future."
Have you seen the
maybe.
statue?
He's like,
Have you seen the statue in the courtyard?
"Yeah, it's Sundu's people, isn't it?"
It's Zavifa.
You mean the Zavifa who was Zavifing you earlier?
Exactly.
Right.
The one who almost got Zavifa herself before she got pulled through by the Cthulhu.
Yeah, you like that, how we showed up at that like last moment right there? That was fun.
That was.
He's like, "So what's your point? I don't understand."
It seems there has been some great influence from Zavifa within this culture, and we're concerned that there may be some further treachery ahead, somehow hidden within her teachings.
It says, "Well, there's always treachery ahead. It's the nature of the job." And he says, "Well, you know, I don't know the mysteries of all things, right? Like, I'm just trying to help keep everything clean, like, you know, basically a janitor." And he says, if she was the one who put this little tribe together, which I reckon she is, since, you know, they've got a statue of her and everything, there must be a reason, right? So you're saying that like, did you give him the information on like the specifics that you just found, Lachlan?
Yeah, but also, I think I also would have searched through like my visor files, basically like when I might have seen.
All right, do an intelligence check.
Okay, when I might have seen a change in Zaviva's personality. Does that make sense?
Right. So
Based on the writings?
Sorry?
Are you saying based on the writings?
Based on the writings and based on whatever history I can find about her through the visor.
So like chapter 3 in this book definitely takes a turn.
all right.
Ooh, 12.
Okay, so here's what you find. You find out that during the destruction of the Moon of Illusion in the Third Age, a series of spawn were sent to the planet's surface to infiltrate and get in place for the next opportunity that when the stars align for the Cthulhu to try to take over again. And that happened concurrent with the destruction of the moon. That's the thing that you find. In terms of related to Guansho, there's nothing specific to Zavifa and Guansho. You found your stone over at the watering hole where Dazu was, right? It was left. Right? But you don't know if it was left by Zavifa or if it was left by other tribes, but the fact that it says that information that a few spawn had infiltrated somewhere in the. It means that, I mean, it's a high likelihood that it could have been hers. But why would she leave it?
Okay.
What would be going on? Who knows? In relation to that's the only information you find with a 12.
All right.
So you're still talking with Tristan, and we've got an.
Still talking with Tristan. I've got my visor down, and I'm also going to study the Shinto during all this as well.
He does not have a parasite. He does not have a Cthulhu spawn in him. In fact,
Okay.
nobody that you've seen yet here has, right?
Okay.
And not the prince either. And so when Tristan says, "So you're worried that somehow her teachings," and I'm assuming that you told him like that she gave them advanced psychological warfare, like all of these things.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, I mean, in the future, Guangzhou is like one of the strongest provinces in all of the kingdoms, in all of these in all of these Asian realms, right? So whatever she did, turned out all right, I suppose. Maybe they got a leg up, maybe they didn't. It all kind of evens out in the end, as far as I can tell. But just in the same way that the universe through Xavier Waverider chose you because of your nature, maybe the time stream chose her for her nature, and it's because all this is supposed to be happening." He's like, maybe.
Fair enough. I think I looked at Sunday and I say, I think Sunday, this is something you and I might just have to keep an eye on, and we're going to have to see how this society changes as we move forward.
Well, honestly, even though it might be slightly disruptive for this dynasty to have that extra information, I must admit it is beneficial for the safety of the Two-Eye Stone, which is in accordance with my mission. So that seems like a plus.
He's like, yeah, it's funny how that works out. Like, good people do bad things, and bad people do good things sometimes. I mean, it's just like weird, And he looks at the prince, and he's like, "You know what I mean? I'm sure you do. Make sure you build a platform on top there. We'll be back, and we're gonna find you. Just know it." And the kid's like, "Oh God." All right, so unless anything else, he's like, "We gotta go." He's like, "Where's Loyal?"
Okay. I think we're ready.
What happened to the American?
Oh, I forgot. There was one other thing I wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
When we left the chamber to go study, can I retcon this? Because we got talking about something else, and I was going to say this.
Okay.
When we were in the room with everybody, and Sundu and I left to go to the library to study.
Yeah.
I did stop by one of the maidens and say, "Excuse me, miss, but my friend the knight might need your help tonight. If you could seek him out." Then I leave.
Okay, so you're adding your role essentially, like the way that would work in game mechanics is you're adding your role to his horrendous. What was it, a 6?
No, I rolled a 91. So
you rolled a 1?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, you did.
Yeah, I totally did.
Yeah, well, there's no helping that.
Yeah.
Well, I tried for you.
Yeah. But interestingly, Lachlan, you sat for your painting and everything, and the guy, when you see her, the guy happens to be pulling the painting and showing it to you, and that helps your role. So if you want to, you can have a time with the maiden. All right.
Well, I think unfortunately I was too busy in the library all night.
All right. Okay. All right. Anyway, so then let's. Okay, so then what we'll do is we won't play your time in Seer, but there is one more encounter that I want you all to have real briefly. Okay? I think this was a really good session. I think we got a lot of stuff kind of cleared up, and we're on a really good direction right now. So what we'll do is we'll do a what's it called? A cliffhanger. With the next encounter, and then the next episode we'll have the combat and clean up the stuff in Seer and just do like a montage. Sure. Right?
Cool.
So as you guys are flying back east, first day goes fine, second day goes fine, third day in the afternoon. Oh, and during this time, Lachlan, those first 2 days, you make your staff of your grappling hook staff a staff of striking, so you can add those stats to it. Okay.
Awesome. I also want to talk about the visor and adding in some ideas that I have if he thinks it's possible.
Not in that time. We can discuss it between the next, because you guys are going to have to jump on the ship after and come back to Sear or to Guanshu in the future.
Cool.
But as you guys are flying, right, out at the crow's nest, you hear, "Captain, we've got 4. It looks like Elriel's coming at us, north on the starboard bow." And you see guys run to the ballista, and Tristan, you see Tristan like on the deck, and he's like, "What?" And he looks at Elriel. He's like, "No, that's not supposed to happen now. No." He starts running, and he's like, "Captain, get all of your men off the deck right now. Get them under the ground, into the hull immediately." And the captain looks at Tristan, and you can tell that he has an immense amount of respect for this blue half sea elf, and he's like, "Everybody off the deck, under the hold now." And he's like, and Tristan's like, "Slow the ship, don't slow the ship. Just don't slow the ship. Don't change course. Don't do anything different." And he's like, "Elriel," he's like, "you can't be up here either, mate. You've got to get down below the decks." And he's like, if they are mithril elves, then I should greet them so that they know that we are safe." And he's like, "Oh, fuck me. This isn't supposed to happen now." And do any of you want to ask him anything real quick?
Do you also want
What's not supposed to happen?
What's that?
Does he also want for us to go below the deck?
No. He's like, "You guys have to stay up here."
And what's going on?
He's like, "This meeting wasn't supposed to happen for 300 years. 300 years. It's like, fuck, how are we going to get out of this one?" And then as he says that, you see 2 black clad in the same kind of armor as Elriel. They swoop up onto the deck and land, and they put their staffs down, and when they do, like an electric charge happens, and it kind of makes like an arc to the edge. Like, let me see if I can draw it real quick. It makes like an arc like that. Okay. Actually, they would be. Yeah, no, this is fine. And so then the two black crow ones land like that, and like that, and make that arch. And then you see like a brilliant white wings. It looks like eagle wings, right? But they're white. And then a pink, like flamingo pink one, and their armor is like her armor is shiny pink, but it's mostly robes. Just has like the top part and like the shoulders. She has a helmet, but it's an open-faced helmet, and it has like a little bit of black on the thing. And it has like a big pink and white plumage that comes out of it. And she carries a staff, and she lands. And then next to her, after she lands, is a brilliant white mithril armored sky elf with a long staff, kind of like Elriel's. And he lands, and boom, and like Tristan is before them, and he bows, and he's like, "Your Excellency," and we'll end there.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Cool. Okay, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.